maybe we can talk about the reasons why also in Indonesia, even though there's a lot of bird species and a lot of birds to observe, I can certainly see that in the 20 years that I come, the populations of many bird species are going down. And it is complex to understand why, of course. In general, the main reason is the destruction of the habitat. That's very simple. You cut down a forest and the birds that were living there lose their habitat and have no other place to go. So deforestation, I think, is the main reason why birds are disappearing from many places in Indonesia. And as I said, I have experienced that they have a good knowledge about the calls and the distribution of the birds, but these same people also usually have a very good knowledge how to climb a tree or pakai snaar or catch the bird with pakai lem. So these people are very experienced in doing that. Sometimes I think the burung-burung, it's safe because it's in a very high tree, but the next day I see this guy going up for 20 meters on a very dangerous, so they are very experienced, and unfortunately they can capture a lot of birds in that way. That is very special also about Indonesia, and I think most people are not really aware of it, certainly not at the village level, is that you have a high biodiversity, but a big portion of that biodiversity is unique. The most logic thing is that we go to very remote places like a high mountain in Papua to look for birds, but some of the new birds in Indonesia that were found in the last years are actually on mountains where there are thousands of people going every year. Like last year we published a new species on Lombok, on Gunung Rinjani, and every day there are maybe 100 people climbing to the top. So sometimes new birds turn up in very unexpected places where there have already been a lot of bird watchers. The example that I mentioned is actually from Timor. It's from Gunung Mutis. It's a small parrotfinch, very colorful bird, but it stays in the forest. And there is a parrotfinch in the lowlands in Timor. So maybe people before had seen it flying in the forest in Mutis, but nobody took a good picture. And now there's a good picture and they see it's different and it's a new species. And for people like me, that's very frustrating because I've been on that mountain many times before and I also missed it. But that's the game in bird watching. I am also still working on some publications because there are more new species that are going to be described. And some of these new species are actually birds that are already in a book that are known, but have been put in a wrong category of birds. For example, there is an owl on Alor, and people believe it's, or they think it's the same as in Timor. It's the southern bubuk owl. But the bubuk owl on Alor is a totally different species than on Timor. And when I met Tori 5 years ago, I just came back from Alor, and I was very frustrated because Tori will remember that, because I had heard the owl. I knew it was different. Most night birds is to study the sound, not just the colors of the plumage. And I will try to find it on my recording device. So this is a recording from Pantar, for example, but I don't know what it is. It's maybe a new species of owl. This is from the mangroves in Pantar. This is the first technique. I hear something I don't know, I make a recording and I use playback. And if I'm lucky, the bird will come because it thinks there is a different male Because the reason why birds are singing is they are defending their territory and they are attracting a female. So if the male is singing and he hears another male, he will fight with it because there is competition for the female. Or maybe you know this call if you're ini burung hantu di timur. So I use this call to provoke playback in Alor when there were owls, but there is no response. And when I make my own recording of the owl on Alor, it does not sound like whoop, 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 like in Polo, but it sounds like this. And we don't really know where they are going, but we think they are going to Sulawesi or to the Torian Islands, because when it's very dry in Timor, these birds don't like it. They need a very wet ground to find snails, etc. So they are migrating in their own country. They go to a wet area. But now I went back to Roti in the rainy season, and they were everywhere. And so this bird follows the rainy season. Pita. Ini bahasa Portugis. Pau. Laos. One example, for example, where people see adaptation to climate change is that birds that are specialists for the mountains, they like cool climates. Because the climate is becoming warmer, they go higher in the mountains. Before, for example, they say this bird is not above 2,000 meters. Now we are starting to observe them at 2,200 meters, 2,500 meters. And people think this is because these birds depend on a cool climate. And because it's becoming too warm, they have to go higher. But of course, there are limits to their maneuvering space, because when they reach the top, they cannot go higher anymore. So nobody really understands what the long-term impact is of these things.